When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
There is a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is partnered with more real-world tracks and companies, including Junior Motorsports, than any other group on the iRacing service.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Maconi Entertainment, and welcome to round 2 of this mini-series here on Maconi Entertainment that we are calling Jeff Maconi's Boot Camp. Last week, we had ARCA Cars at Nashville, and tonight, we've got ARCA Cars at Nashville. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Sky Shrek, and in the virtual production hauler, we have Howie Burrows. Well, Sky, welcome into the ARCA Boot Camp. I hope you enjoy your stay here tonight. Last week, we had a pretty fun race, and I have a feeling that tonight is going to be no exception.
Oh yeah, Nashville Fairgrounds is always a fun track. The high banks here make for some really good action. Just over half a mile in length. First opened all the way back in 1904. It's a very old track in Nashville, Tennessee. And this is one that tends to produce a lot of really close racing, a lot of side-by-side action. And I think we're going to see a lot of that here tonight. It's going to be a really fun one.
Yeah, keeping our fingers crossed that we're going to be seeing a packed-in field. Last week, it was Larry Pace in the 00 car setting the pace during that race. Yes, that's a terrible pun. No, I do not regret it one single bit. He was quick, though, 1 week ago, and not sure if he's actually with us here this evening. So may have a new driver at the top of the pecking order come time for the end of this race that we have coming up. These drivers currently in the midst of a small little warm-up session, qualifying already in their rear-view mirrors. As we see these drivers run around this racetrack, Sky, I have a quick question for you. What do you think is going to catch out these drivers the most here tonight?
Well, I've seen it a couple times just by watching practice and qualifying and even this warm-up session here. These drivers are really struggling on exit. They're hitting the walls. They're getting loose. You can see it right there. Another car scraping the wall as they exit the corner. That seems to be one of the big things that is really tripping up these drivers, and I think that'll play a real factor, especially as we get later in the race and these cars start to drive a little worse.
Yeah, track evolution, car evolution, and just evolution period going to be a huge factor in this race that we have coming up. And I think since we are a little bit into this warm-up session right now, we will switch our attention into this race that we have coming up. Same as last week, 150 laps. Last week we saw a competition caution midway through that, so 75 laps. You can do the math. Yes, I did do the math in between this week and last. See, I occasionally paid attention in math class as a kid, but gonna be seeing these drivers have a very lengthy race in front of them, which can also be one that plays with the driver's psyche a little bit as they go around this very small track.
Yeah, 150 laps. It is a small track, like you said, and we have a pretty small field tonight, so not expecting to see too many yellows. You've got to really be focused, and you've got to stay focused for quite a long time with how short these laps are and how long these corners can be. You don't really get a break ever at Nashville Fairgrounds, and I don't think we're going to have many cautions to give them to the drivers.
Yeah, gonna have to wait and see what sort of hecticness we have in this race coming up. Will we see a little bit of drama? Maybe seeing some drama that we just saw hang down into turn number 1. I think there's a small little bite taken out of the barrier in a way. I think the old scan of Phoenix, something very similar to that, heading off into what is now 3 and 4. What back then with that version of the track was 1 and 2. Small little bit of barrier, we can basically have a head-on impact, which very lucky that these drivers are running in the sim instead of real life, because that would be a very sickening crash indeed. Both less than a minute and a half left to go in this warm-up session. I think we will switch our attention to that qualifying session that happened earlier on and take a look at what is going to be the starting grid for this race here this evening. It's going to be Devin Curl in the 05 car. The HendrickCars.com livery is going to be at the front of this field, setting an 18.205 in that qualifying session earlier on. Braxton DeWeese covering by practically nothing is that front row Dweez, marked as number 10 with that number 5 paint scheme is going to be starting in P2. We have Payne Hamlet starting this race in third next to one of our colleagues here at Maconi Entertainment, whose last name pronunciation I will try and very likely butcher, Logan Threcoat. Hopefully I got that right, fingers crossed. He will be starting in fourth regardless. Payne Hamlet, as I said a few moments ago, will start in third. Here's some more of Maconi Entertainment's finest. It's Jeremy Briggs. You'll be catching on the broadcast of the Goat Locker Racing Cruising Classics Next Gen Series later on this evening, along with the boss man himself, Jeff Maconi, in the 03 car, running the same paint scheme he will be running in real life in the not too far off future. Starting in P7, in car number 7 will be Austin Mize. Alongside is going to be Tyler Massey in the number 17 machine. And then that, I believe, will do it for the top 8. Here's the top 10. It's comprised of Marcel Flores and Larry Pace, who was our winner 1 week ago and did not actually set a time in that qualifying session. So there are your starters. 10-car grid, but just because it's small doesn't mean it's not going to produce some great racing.
No, and I'm already looking a little further back towards the field, because while Larry Pace did not run a qualifying lap, he was the second fastest car in practice. He was able to find a lot of speed there. I think he's going to be a driver that can make his way up to the field here.
Yeah, keeping our fingers crossed that we're going to see some drivers cut their way through the field like a hot knife through butter. That would be a rather fun storyline to keep tabs on all throughout this race, and rather funky pronunciation of me saying knife there a couple of moments ago. So I will leave it at that and swiftly and abruptly move on. We can see these drivers lining up on that provisional starting grid. Obviously, it's an oval race. We got a rolling start for these racers, which is going to be another test of these drivers. There's not a lot of wiggle room if you go off the circuit heading through that start-finish straightaway. It's basically an alleyway for these drivers. So if we see any sort of drama on a start or a restart, I have a feeling we may have a track blocker.
Yeah, that's kind of the deal with short track racing here, especially at a track like this where it's so narrow. This is a track that could really kind of lend itself to tight racing because there's not a lot of room to work. Everybody's kind of fighting for the same line right around the bottom, so it's going to be really difficult for these drivers if someone does have a moment in front of them to try to keep it out of it.
Yeah, one driver I'm going to be keeping my tabs on all throughout this race that we have coming up is going to be your last place starter of Larry Pace. Won in rather comfortable fashion 1 week ago here with this exact same car, with this exact same racetrack, but he started up at the front for that race. I believe he started on the front row. I can't remember whether he was on the pole or started in P2, my memory failing me at the worst possible time, but since he's going to be starting way at the back, he is going to have a big challenge on his hands come time for this race that we have coming up. The drivers out there on the racetrack will have one more pace lap before we rack it up and get these drivers set these drivers to get this race underway. So Sky, last thoughts before we head into 150 laps of, fingers crossed, good racing, but we may also have some carnage thrown in as well.
Yeah, I'm going to make my pick for tonight. I think Braxton DeWeese for starting second there on the outside of the front row. He's a driver that's good in pretty much anything he runs. I expect him to be no different here. Fast in qualifying, fast in practice. I'm looking for him to try to get the lead pretty soon.
And we also have a competition caution that is going to be coming out through the halfway mark of this race on lap 75. That's going to bunch up this field quite a lot, so let's see if that is going to throw a big wrench in the works for these drivers. A pace car making the turn down pit lane. The field now in the hands of our front row devised of Devin Curl and Braxton DeWeese. The green flag's out and the drivers are on their way, but DeWeese already picking up a black flag. That is a big moment for him. He overtook before that start-finish line, so he's going to have to come in to serve that penalty, but he's stuck on the outside line. He may have actually gotten a black flag cleared, so very lucky escape from him. I was about to say, if he has to come down pit lane from the outside line, he's going to be in for a world of hurt. Maconi getting a black flag as well. There may be some sort of iRacing chicanery that are going on. I think what it could be potentially is one of the drivers did not take the start. As you can see, only 9 starters in this race already. Marcel Flores in the number 8 car, currently running down in 9. Some side-by-side racing involving Mize and Pace, but outside of that penalty chicanery, it's a rather clean start.
Everybody gets off pretty well, and it's Devin Curl pulling out to the early lead there. Going single file further back, and car hard in the wall. It's Marcel Flores back there running 9th. That's going to be some damage to that machine, and that's not going to help his race. And call around in front of the field, Austin Mace involved. That's Jeremy Briggs in the 48.
And that was a huge crash for the both of them. Those drivers trying to get turned back around in the right direction. You can see the damage on both of those machines. Here's a look at the replay. This is heading through turns 3 and 4 right now. You can see the 17 on the inside of the 48. Contact being made coming out of the corner. And pow, that was a big hit for the both of them.
Just a little tap there coming out of the corner with Tyler Massey getting into the rear end of Jeremy Briggs. And that was what started it. So close to keeping it clean, but ended up in disaster.
Yeah, that could have ended so much worse. So honestly, with these ARCA cars, I have yet to see one flip. I say yet because I don't know why. I have a feeling that we're in for a flip tonight. Maybe that's just weird premonition from me. We'll note early on in this race, since we are under the first yellow flag and we saw some drivers involved in some incidents, they do have a fast repair at their disposal, which is certainly something that those drivers involved in that early incident will be using. One fast repair, iRacing fixed setups, which yes, DJ EJ, not really a big fan of those iRacing fixed setups, so they have been a little bit divisive ever since this car was introduced for this season. People not really being a fan of the setups that iRacing has put in place for these drivers.
Yeah, you mentioned it. These cars are pretty new. This isn't the old ARCA car. These drivers haven't had a lot of time to kind of get used to this new model of ARCA car. So pretty much everyone in the field still new to this strategy. We got a couple of cars coming down to take tires. Jeff Maconi, Austin Mace, both in the pits, put a new rubber on the car. Jeremy Briggs came down. He only took a fast repair and came back out.
And as we are under this first yellow flag period of this race, the first of 2 guaranteed, obviously have this one. We may also have that halfway break yellow at the 75 lap mark, but who knows? This may be the one of only 2 yellows. This may be the first of 50. Who knows? Only time will tell how things shake out between now and the end of this race. All I know for sure, though, is that pace car coming back down pit lane. We're re-racking them and restarting them, waiting for that green flag to come back at. It's back at. These drivers are back on their way. That is a very slow restart from Marcel Flores. That 8 car was really struggling last week at this event, and I have a feeling that those struggles may be carrying over into this week as well. Devin Curl is still your race leader. Payne Hamlet currently sliding P2 side-by-side racing between the 5 and 10.
And they're trying to go side-by-side for the lead, too, but they can't quite do it yet. It's a battle between Braxton DeWeese and Logan Threlkeld back there. It's the Threlkeld running on the top. He's in that 30 car. He's actually running the 5 on the ticker, but the car is the 30. Meanwhile, Braxton DeWeese is the one in the 5 car. A little bit confusing down there, but numbers are reversed. It's DeWeese on the inside. He'll get a little bit of an advantage working through 1 and 2. We'll see if he can get clear and if he can take Larry Pace with him up to 4th.
And you can see Pace there. I was just going to raise that, Sky. The fact that Larry Pace, starting at the tail end of this field, made his way all the way up to 4th. That is a brilliant race for him up to this point. Right as I say that, though, Threlkeld getting a move done on him to briefly displace Larry Pace back down to P5 as a race leader of Devin Curl in the 05 machine is very quick up at the front of the field. Now it's about a 1/10 second gap between himself and Payne Hamlet, and just at the fast lap of the race last time by.
That 2 car of Peyton Hamlet is there, though. He has not gone away from behind Devin Curl. He's been sitting there for a while trying to put some pressure on that 05 car, maybe force him into making a mistake here. This track is pretty narrow. You want to be running it pretty close down to that inside, or maybe about a lane or so up. The 2 is going to angle it down off the corner to try and get himself a better run, but it's just not happening right now. Still stuck behind that 05 car of Devin Curl.
I wonder if we are going to see these drivers get a little bit physical with each other, rapidly approaching upon the first 10th of this race being completed. So still have a lot of time left to go to try and get some moves done. These drivers also have to think about some pit stops as well. Unlimited tires for these competitors. Won't have to worry about any sort of tire conservation or anything like that. They're just going to be burning through rubber like it's going ass style. Some fighting going on involving Larry Pace and Braxton DeWeese. DeWeese, as he raced a couple of moments ago, Sky, marked as number 10 on our ticker, but is actually the number 5 car out there on the circuit. Logan Threlkeld in the 5 car, as it's marked on the ticker, is actually in the 30, but you can get a good idea as how it's going right now. Lots of drivers dropping their way down the field. I mentioned earlier on a driver like Larry Pace, for instance, up 7 spots ever since the drop of the green flag, cutting his way through the field like a hot knife through butter. Lots of red on that position gain and loss ticker as well. So as much as there have been some drivers that cut their way through the field, there's been others that have dropped down like an anvil pushed out of a helicopter.
And those top two are absolutely pulling away from the field. Devin Curl and Peyton Hamlet have opened up a 1.5 second gap to Larry Pace, the car currently running third, and then it's another second back to that line of Braxton DeWeese, Logan Threlkeld, and Jeff Maconi, 4th through 6th. Gaps already starting to open up in the field, and those top two cars really are showing why they have the speed. We look at the lap times here. Devin Curl ran an 18.4, Peyton Hamlet pretty similar, 18.37. Larry Pace was the fastest car on the track with an 18.3, but everyone behind him was running at best on an 18.5. So those top three cars all running drastically better lap times than everyone behind them.
Yeah, and as we see these pace disparities, second tries a charm on that word pronunciation for me, as we see these pace disparities start to rear their ugly heads, how are we going to see this field shuffle? I think some drivers, as I said, dropping down like an anvil, push out of a helicopter. Others are going to rise up to the top and get some moves done, like a Jeff Maconi, who is involved in a fight with himself and his own employee. Those two are currently in the same Discord channel as well, so I would love to be a fly in that wall if those two came to blows.
Maconi got that spot, and now he's going to look one spot ahead of him at Braxton DeWeese up there running 4th in that 5 car. DeWeese started on the outside of the front row, hasn't shown quite the speed some of us might have been expecting here, dropping back to 4th in the early stages of this race and not being able to really keep time with those top 3 cars. Larry Pace opening a 1.7 second gap to that 10 machine.
And as we continue to see these drivers run their way around the track, that was a beautiful view of escaping the bounds of this motorsports facility, heading down into 3 and 4. Got a view of the south side of the wall. If any bit of your race car ends up out there and you're still in control of it, that's not going to be a very good strategy for these drivers to try and use. And I say that now, I feel like we're probably going to see some driver do like a Ross Chastain impression and wall ride it here towards the end of this race. Not even sure if you can do that around here, considering the banking, probably just the more efficient line, running right by that yellow line by the apron on the inside, which is seeming to be the very popular spot on this racetrack very early on.
It always is here at Nashville. That top line is just so far up the racetrack. It's a very wide racetrack, so you get kind of an advantage by running as low as you can. You mentioned kind of hitting the wall there and how that's detrimental. Mizel Flores, we saw him hit the wall in that first run pretty good, and he's already dropped 11 seconds off the next slowest car. Hitting the wall can really hurt, and a big slide there for Jeff Maconi coming out of the corner. I'm not sure how he held on to that one.
Yeah, I think the only reason why that car is still going in this race is down to a hope, a prayer, and him sawing at the wheel coming out of 3 and 4. That was a big sideways snap. We're actually take a look at a replay of that. You can see him slideways coming out of the corner, and that right there was, I believe it is still Braxton DeWeese in front of them at that point in time. So that was a big moment for the both of them, because you can see DeWeese get a little bit sideways coming out of that corner as well. Maybe gonna have to talk about that between now and the end of this race. The first incident we saw was a moment heading through 3 and 4, and incidentally, it was involving these two racers that we now follow on screen right now of Jeremy Briggs and Tyler Massey. So who knows? Maybe 3 and 4, these cars are going to be skidding around like a declawed cat climbing up an igloo.
We're going to find out for sure. Looking a little further up the field here, the gap between second and third has shrunk dramatically. Larry Pace was 1.4 up as these guys make their way around some lap traffic there. Mizel Flores. Larry Pace, well, he wasn't within about half a second. As I was saying that, he had a bad lap. He started to drop off a little further, but he was running up about half a second back of that 98 car. He's starting to get some speed going.
Yeah, slowly getting that momentum built up, and let's see if we're going to see a pounce from any of these racers. It's still Devin Curl at the front of this field in a very familiar position in that 05 machine. Now, I mentioned this right before we grabbed the green, talking about the performance from Larry Pace 1 week ago. Got my tongue wrapped around my teeth about 16 times there. I mean, he's very fast, don't get me wrong. Currently finds himself in third. A side-by-side racing going on involving DeWeese and Maconi. That's heading through 3 and 4. They sing single file out down the start-finish straightaway, but the point that I was going to raise, as much as Larry Pace was an incredibly quick driver 1 week ago, it seems like that track position advantage at the start of these races can really help these drivers out.
It can, but even without the track position advantage, Larry Pace has been quick. He's running faster laps than any of the two cars in front of him, and he's really starting to make that time work. He's running about a tenth faster than Peyton Hamlet last time around, an 18.64 in comparison to an 18.72 for that 98 machine. He's really starting to close in, and don't count out these two cars behind him yet, because Braxton DeWeese and Jeff Maconi really starting to bring those lap times down as the tires wear.
And we're starting to see these drivers get a bit more comfortable with their race cars, get a bit more comfortable with themselves as well. This is not an easy combination for these drivers to try and get used to. As you raised earlier on, Sky, it's a rather new combination, considering this ARCA car was only released a matter of a few weeks ago. As you can see, a big sideways moment for Payne Hamlet heading through 1 and 2. That's going to give the inside line to Larry Pacer side by side, hang down that start finish straightaway down into 1 and 2. Pace trying to get that move done to slip his way up into second and gets it done.
He will get clear of that 98 car. A lot of speed in the 00. Now got his sights set on the 05 at Devin Curl for the lead. These two are running pretty similar lap times between the 05 and the 00, but that car, Larry Pace, is just really making that bottom line work, and it's helped him a lot in terms of speed. He was slower last lap, but it was because he had to make that move on Hamlet. I'm interested in seeing what the lap time difference is going to be as that 00 crosses the start-finish line this time, and it will be quicker than Devin Curl by about 3/4 of a tenth compared to that 05 car.
The real question is, though, will we see Larry Pace reel in Devin Curl by the time of that lap 75 caution? And, I mean, hey, if we do have a caution between then and now, it's probably going to help out the cause of Larry Pace. We mentioned right before he grabbed the green in this race how it's going to be super, super entertaining to see how Larry Pace manages it here. And managing it quite well. I mean, he started down in 10th. He's made his way all the way up to 2nd and got himself out of this Hornet's Nest that you see on screen right now. It's a battle for 7th involving the number 7 car of Austin Mays, running in 7th presently. Funny how that works. Jeremy Briggs running in P8 at the present moment in the 48 machine, and Tyler Massey, rear gunner of this battle, a little bit out of touch heading through 1 and 2. However, Jeremy Briggs and Mize are certainly in touch, as I thought we were going to see Briggs put the bumper to the back of Mize heading off through 1 and 2. I think it's a bit early for a move like that.
Yeah, Briggs seems to be the faster car right now. He's really gaining a lot of time, kind of mid-corner and on the exits as Mize dives it in a little deeper into the corners compared to him. You can see that 7 car pull way away on entry, but as they start to exit the corner, that 48 is able to reel him right back in. Both cars have been getting a little loose here as these tires start to wear. Lap time fall off has been about half a second to 0.6 of a second throughout the field, so definitely starting to get some wear, and these drivers are starting to feel it on these race cars.
Yeah, certainly starting to see an evolution in the way these cars are running around the track. Seeing him get a bit more sideways and get a bit more experimental with the lines. You can see the 7 of Mays running off into the apron, heading off through turn number 1 and 2. I don't think that's a good strategy to work with at all, because you can see every single time he goes the other side, the south side, as I would probably say, of that yellow line on the inside, he loses out on a boatload of time to Jeremy Briggs right behind. If these two drivers get locked up in a battle, though, we will see Tyler Massey get involved in all of it as well. He's currently the last car on the lead lap, as Marcel Flores, running in P10, is currently 2 laps down in this race. Saw him pretty much knock the barrier down. I believe it was coming out of this section 1 and 2 that we saw Marcel Flores hit the wall, and ever since then, things have gone south for the driver of the 8 machine.
Yeah, that 8 car really just has not had the speed. Could have taken a faster pair on that first caution, but I guess the damage just didn't feel like it was bad enough. But as this run has continued, he's really struggled. 7 of Austin Mays is sending it so far into those corners. He's clipping the apron a little, going down into turn 1, trying to grab anything he can on these entries. It's 2 very different driving lines here, but I think in the end, over a long run, Briggs is probably going to prevail. Backing down that entry a little earlier is going to help save his tire life, and ideally he'll get a run down the straightaway, and it'll help the 48 get around the 7.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I'm absolutely with you there, Sky, in reference to the fact that Briggs will probably prevail in the long run for these two. We are getting to the 2/3 mark through the first half of this race, and of course that competition caution coming out on lap 75, so that will bunch up the field quite a lot. The line that Maze is running, heading off into some of the corners here, it is so unpredictable. I think predicting the lottery would probably be a bit easier, just seeing that car dart around. I think the 7 of Maze is maybe struggling a little bit because that car and its handling is looking about as hard to pin down as the tail of a donkey while you're blindfolded.
If he's not having handling issues now, he will in about 20 or so laps once those tires start to scream from the dives that he's taking into these corners every time around. I think Briggs, if he can just back it down and be careful here, I don't think it'll be too long before either Maze makes a mistake or those tires go completely and the 48 is able to get a bit of a run going. The gap is opening up for now. That 7 car starting to get away, but the 48 isn't losing touch with the 7. We'll see if he just bides his time here over the next few laps or if he tries to make a move. He was pushing really hard to get it done.
Yeah, and as we continue to keep tabs on that battle a little bit farther in the back, we jump up to the front of the field and find this small little hornet's nest forming. You got Payne Hamlet leading in front of Braxton DeWeese right now. Those two drivers running P3 and P4. Jeff Maconi still within striking distance as well, albeit it's about 0.6 of a second between Braxton DeWeese and Jeff Maconi. You can just barely see him in the back of shots in that very striking baby blue car. I was never going to art class. I guess that would be baby blue if anyone has the correct terminology for what color it is for Maconi's car. Feel free to let us know in the YouTube chat, but as it stands presently, we got a blue car and a car with a little bit of blue battling on screen right now, off through 1 and 2. Hey, I'm a poet and I don't know it. It's currently being led by that Dale Earnhardt tribute scheme of... that is baby blue. Okay, so my intuition actually served me correctly for the first time in 20 years. These drivers hoping their intuition will serve them well as they briefly went side by side, and they are yet again side by side through 1 and 2.
Braxton DeWeese trying to move himself up into a podium position. Peyton Hamlet really seemed like he wore those tires out at the start of the run, trying to keep pace with that 05 car of Devin Curl, and now as we've gone about 50 laps here since the green flag came out, it started to cycle him back, and cars like Braxton DeWeese, who weren't as immediately fast, are starting to come alive a little bit. He'll move up to 3rd, and now Jeff Maconi's looking for 4th.
And I wonder if Maconi is going to try and strike while the iron is hot. You can see him got a little bit sideways coming at 3 and 4, so clearly the slight handling difficulties not even going to help him out, even though he is on slightly fresher tires compared to some of these racers. But he's going for the dive off into 3 and 4. Let's see how it's going to work for Maconi on the inside of Hamlet. Hamlet's still going to hold his line off down that start-finish straightaway into 1 and 2 right now. That Dale Earnhardt tribute scheme trying to hold his ground, but I'm not sure if it's going to be a successful challenge as he hits the wall big time coming out 1 and 2. That's not going to help his cause.
It won't at all. That 02 car is still struggling with the handling. We're going to get a replay here on this incident, and we'll see what happened.
See coming out of this section right there, oh, bang into the wall. I'm not sure if Payne had any sort of room to move any further down the inside. So Maconi kind of hanging him out to dry there a little bit. But hey, if he wanted to do that to get the move done, it has worked out for him as Maconi now finds himself in 4th. Hamlet's dropping down to P5, but that was a rather significant wall scrape.
It was for sure. That's definitely going to give some damage to that 2 car. It'll drop him a little further back. We'll see if a car like Logan Threlkeld, currently sitting in 6th, is able to capitalize on that. It is a 4-second gap back, but I haven't seen that Logan Threlkeld car in the wall at all. So if he's still got a clean race car and that 98's got a little bit of a damage from that side swipe, might expect to see that gap close over the 15 laps we have until the competition yellow. This battle is still trying to go, and now Jeremy Briggs is finally going to get the run on the outside of Austin Mays. Haven't seen a move done on the top yet, but the 48's going to try to bring it to him down through 1 and 2.
Yeah, and let's see as they're still side by side down the back stretch. They finally single file out. Right as I say that, these drivers playing me like a fiddle, but right as I say that, I should keep my mouth shut in reference to them being side by side or not, because every single time I say one thing, they immediately prove it to be the opposite case. But Briggs getting that move done to slip his way up into 7th. Both those drivers involved in the incident earlier on, so slightly fresher tires compared to some of the other racers in this field, but I'm not sure if they're entirely comfortable with the way these cars are running at the present moment. Had that sideways snap out of 3 and 4. I think from the onboard shots that we've had with some of these racers, they have been a little bit wiggly coming out of 3 and 4 ever since then as well. I have a feeling the exit out of that section into that start-finish straightaway is probably the most challenging part of this track for these racers tonight.
Yeah, we've seen a couple cars scrape that wall out of 4 for sure. Looking at the lap times there right now, Larry Pace a little bit slower as Devin Curl continues to run great laps, and don't look now, but Braxton DeWeese has really saved those tires back in 3rd. Might be too little too late with this competition caution coming at lap 75, but he was the fastest on the track last time around. Really good times for that 10th car. He's the fastest once again. I don't think he's going to catch pace before we get that yellow, but he's showing he can tire save with the best of them and try to get some speed in the second half of the stint.
I will say we are rapidly approaching upon the halfway mark of this race, and with it will come that full course caution period. 67 laps on the board, coming to 68 right about now. That was perfectly timed for me to say that. 68 laps on the board now, so not terribly long until we hit that 75 mark and get that yellow flag back out. It's got to pack this field together, and I wonder, once we get that yellow flag out and see these drivers come down pit lane, I wonder how exactly that's going to affect the battle at the front. Larry Pace hasn't exactly been able to reel in Devin Curl, has occasionally been quicker, but on the whole, it hasn't been a massive chump that he's been taking out of that gap. So I wonder how that's going to work out for those two drivers.
Yeah, I think once we get that caution, everybody comes down pit road to put new tires on it. That battle at the front is going to be really close, at least for a while of the last seconds of the second half of this race, because Devin Curl has dominated the early stages. He's let a lot of laps, but Larry Pace, starting from the back, coming up to second in a hurry, he clearly has a lot of speed in that 00 car, and I don't think you can count him out of this race just yet. I don't think you can count Braxton DeWeese running back in 3rd out either. He's shown this stint that he's the best driver in the field when it comes to tire saving. He pushes a little harder in the first half of the run and still manages to hold on to the speed advantage that he has now. He might be a threat coming down to lap 150.
We're going to have a lot of drivers to keep tabs on come time for the second half of this race. I have a feeling that the second half, once these drivers really have settled into a groove, they know the stuff that they've got, that maybe when the chaos starts to break out, may not be the final caution that we'll have in a couple of laps' time. But who knows? Anything can happen between now and the checkered flag. We could have an asteroid land on the infield. We could have some of these drivers, including Barry the Flagman, get struck by lightning. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. One of these RVs that you can see on the outfield of the racetrack, they could burst into flames or something like that. That would light up this track probably a little bit better than the lights around here already do, but we're not going to be starting any fires here. I'm, as much as some of the stuff I've said, some of the puns I've made on shows over the years probably net some sort of crime, I do not want to go to jail for arson. As the yellow flag has come out here, 75 laps now on the board.
Yeah, we'll get your results here from the first half of this race. Devin Curl and Larry Pace were the class of the field, running 1 and 2, with Curl leading pretty much every lap. Braxton DeWeese, 3rd, really closed in the kind of second half of that stint. Jeff Maconi on fresh tires got himself up to 4th. Peyton Hamlet did the reverse of DeWeese and fell back to 5th, with Logan Threlk held 6th, Jeremy Briggs 7th, Austin Mays 8th, Tyler Massey 9th, and Marcel Flores a distant 10th.
Yeah, Marcel Flores 4 laps down at the end of all of that in the first half of this race. So I wonder what sort of big swings that driver is going to have to make to even have a hope and a prayer of just getting one of those laps back, let alone 4. But these drivers have now decided to come down pit lane. There you can see the marching ants into the pits, and they're going to have to worry about pit stops as well. Which of these drivers probably going to take 4 tires? Some may decide to take 2 if they're feeling extra brave, and It may be a bit too brave. We'll just have to wait and see. But as these drivers go up on the jacks, thank you to all of you tuning into this broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment tonight. We hope you enjoyed this action. We still got a lot of stuff to worry about here in the second half. Pace away, but there is your leader. He's going to hold on to that spot for now.
We're going to come out pretty much the same as we came into the pits. We are going to come out the exact same as we came into the pits with the one addition of Tyler Massey, who has dropped out of the session there during that pit stop, so he will drop behind Mizell Flores. He'll finish last tonight. Everybody else coming down taking tires and coming out in the exact same order that they ended the kind of first stage there to begin the second part of this race.
And as we brace ourselves for what's going to be a final 70-ish laps of potential carnage, certainly some good content throughout it, and a lot of these drivers feeling various amounts of confidence in their race cars. I have a feeling we may see a bit more hecticness than we saw in that first half of the race. Saw that incident hang through 3 and 4. I mean, these drivers are very fast and very skilled, do not get me wrong, but I think with the added pressure, we may end up seeing that pot boil over.
We're going to find out. We only had that one caution in the first stage there with that early accident on lap 4, but you know what they say in NASCAR, cautions breed cautions. We'll see if we get any here coming off this restart, and as you mentioned, if you get a caution on this restart, this track is very narrow, can be hard to avoid.
Yeah, we may have a track blocker situation on our hands, have a 9-car pileup of the 9 cars that are still left in this race, and have the pace car end up crossing the checkered flag to win it when everything is said and done. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Only time will tell. We'll pull out all of the similes to try and describe it. We're waiting for the second restart of the day, and yet again, Devin Curl getting off to a flyer. That was a quick jump from the 05 car, as Larry Pace is now battling hard with Braxton DeWeese side by side off through 1 and 2.
I think Pace is going to get that spot pretty quickly. He's shown more early run speed than DeWeese has. That 5-car DeWeese seems a little better on the later half of the run, and he'll pull right up into third, but it's Jeff Maconi trying to make a look onto the podium, going down there to the bottom to try and take third away from the 5-car, Braxton DeWeese. We'll stay side by side down the back straightaway. Big lunge for Maconi as we're battling for the lead as well. Pace up the inside of Devin Curl.
It's 2x2 at the moment at the north end of this field. It may very well be 2x3 in the not too far off future. Side by side, yes, side by side racing going on involving Threckeld and Hamlet. They finally single file out, but they're not single file at the front of the field. Pace on the inside, Curl on the outside, being and banging, roughing each other up, heading off through the corners. Braxton DeWeese and Maconi still have a fight on their hands for the final podium spot, as these front two battling tooth and nail to try and grab the race lead. As much as Larry Pace is feeling confident in that 00 car, that 05 of Curl, he has the run, but contact being made hang through the corner, and that's a big moment off into the wall. Is your at 1 point race leader of Devin Curl. That's a big one.
Missing a lot of the nose there and collecting some of the cars behind him. Peyton Hamlet not able to avoid, and that is probably going to have to be a fast repair for that 05 of Devin Curl. He'll have to come to the field. We'll see it one more time on this replay, and just a little bit of contact coming off the corner. The 05 tried to save it, didn't end up working out.
And now I wonder if the 05 there got himself loose just all by himself, or whether there's a little bit of netcode contact involved in all of that as well. Let's have a view on board here, and I don't know. I have a feeling he may have gotten hit with the transparent horn of netcode there. I think it was a little bit of separation between himself and Pace heading off through 3 and 4. Let's take a look at another angle of it here. I think there may have been potential contact there. It looked very, very light. I think netcode certainly had a hand in all of that, which, granted, it's a rather dirty word to say on these broadcasts, but I think it still remains regardless. The driver's breaking their elbows out on that restart.
Yeah, that just ended up in a bad situation for Devin Curl. I think there was certainly contact, but I think netcode definitely did not help the situation at all. Peyton Hamlet is going to come down. He'll get that fast repair. He'll put 4 tires on the car. Devin Curl still out on the racetrack for the time being, running back in 6th. That car has not made the left turn into the pits yet. We'll see if he does it here. He will. Joining him in the pits is going to be Braxton DeWeese, playing a little bit of a strategy call from there in 3rd.
And now the real question is, considering this track is not very friendly on the general tires on these race cars, will this actually be a blessing in disguise for these drivers that have decided that now is the time to come into the pits? Of course, some rather significant damage there from the 05 off the jacks, actually taking 4 tires on this pit stop. As you can see, Braxton DeWeese already well out and away. There's the 05 finally rolling out of the pits, and will be getting this race restarted in a couple of moments. Some of the lights are still on the pace car, and I wonder here, Sky, you raised the age-old phrase for oval broadcast: cautions breed cautions. Will we see a case of that here in the second half?
We might. I think some of these cars that came down are certainly hoping that we don't. I kind of like the strategy call for Braxton DeWeese here on pure pace. He wasn't up to the 0-0 pace in the 05 of Devin Curl in that first stint, so he's got to try something different. Bring it down the pits, put some fresher tires on it, and see if that can get you the advantage that you need later in this run to get you up to the lead. We know that 10 is a bit of a long run car. We'll see if he can get it done here.
And waiting for this field to grab the green yet again. Will it be the last restart? Will it be far from the last restart? Let's just wait and see. The green flag is back at the drivers back on their way. The inside line getting a brilliant start as per usual, but this time it's going to be the 0-0 of Larry Pace. Jeff Maconi slipping into P2. Logan Threckle currently occupying the P3 spot. As you can see, the 7 car right behind him getting a little bit muscled out. I wonder how the 7 and the 48 are going to find themselves in this part of the race. Those two are basically itchy and scratchy during the first half. Let's see if it's the same case during the second. But at the front of the field, it is Larry Pace and Maconi trying to break away. Now about 0.2 of a second between Maconi and Threckle.
Maconi is really trying to push in that 03 car to get himself up to Larry Pace. Your race leader, Logan Threlkeld, still sitting back there in third. Austin Mize taking advantage of some strategy there. He didn't come down to pit. He's moved it up to fourth. We're side by side at the back with Braxton DeWeese on the bottom, working his way around. Jeremy Briggs on the top, and Devin Curl is back there trying to follow him through as well. As this battle develops, we'll see if the 5 can get that spot. It looks like he might be able to do it here out of 2. Loose for the 05 car exiting the corner.
And as we see this Hornets that's forming, I have a feeling that Barry the Flagman is maybe starting to look to see where that yellow flag is. Look at the dive there, heading off into the corner. That is some brave stuff there from the 05 of Devin Curl. Lots of these drivers just going for insane dives, heading off into the corners around here. Not sure if it's the smart strategy, but certainly the exciting one for us in the broadcast booth. And hey, we won't have to worry about any sort of crash damage bills at the end of it all. Side-by-side racing going on at the front of the field, though. Larry Pace stuck on the outside, Maconi on the inside. This is deja vu to what we saw earlier on involving Pace and Devin Curl. This time, though, for Pace, the shoe is on the other foot. He's now stuck on the outside line as really at the will of Maconi on the inside.
Maconi's really been pushing it in the early part of this run. We're side by side 2 rows further back as well. The battle is on all throughout the field, and Maconi's having some internet issues up there as he tries to challenge that 0-0 with Larry Pace. Threlkeld will hold the spot over Austin Mays on the outside, and Mays is just going to say, no, you don't, run him up the racetrack. He'll see if he can get it done that way. Doesn't quite work. They're side by side there. DeWeese is now trying to get back into the top 5, side by side with Peyton Hamlet there. Chaos back here from 3rd to 6th.
And you can see scraping the wall a little bit there. Coming out of 3 and 4 was Braxton DeWeese. While he's run one thing, though, not about the 5 car, but about the 05. Devin Curl finds himself in a very unusual spot compared to how he was in the first half of this race. Was at the front, didn't have to worry about dirty air, didn't have to worry about any competitors. He was just going on a Wednesday night cruise at the front of the field. But now finds himself in an absolute hornet's nest. 5 cars covered by nothing, 3 wide, heading down the back straightaway. Look at that. On the inside line is Peyton Hamlet, the 7 car of Austin Mays. He's been dicey ever since the drop of the green flag, and is certainly risking it for the biscuit. Threckle hitting the wall a little bit, hang down that start to finish straightaway off into 1 and 2. These drivers are not giving us a single point of rest, as they're not giving their competitors a single point of rest either.
Power move there from Peyton Hamlet to get himself up to 3rd. It was a bad exit for the 7 car. He got really squirrely trying to come out the corner. And the 98 just decided he was going to go for it, and it was a great move. A couple cars into the wall there. Devin Curl got up to 4th. He's hit the wall. We've seen Threlkeld into the fence a few times now, and that's dropped him back to 7th. This field finally single filing out. It's going to be Hamlet 3rd, Curl 4th, DeWeese 5th, May 6th, Threlkeld 7th, and Jeremy Briggs, last car in the lead lap, P8.
It is just absolutely nothing involving these racers. It's just one car after another, after another, after another. It is a train if ever you've seen it. And these drivers, I think they finally decide to take it a little bit easier. They're like, you know what? As exciting as it is to go 3 wide down the back straightaway here at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, not really sure if that's the smartest call in the world, heading off into 3 and 4. Now officially 2/3 of the way through this race, under 50 to go here, and Larry Pace finds that under 50 to go with a 3.5 of a second gap to himself and Maconi. Saw those race through side by side earlier on, but they have now single filed out.
Maconi is still trying to gain on that 00 car, but I fear he might have pushed it a little too hard, trying to keep pace with them at the start of the stint, because that 00 has pulled the gap back out to about 0.4 of a second, back there to that 03 car, a little further back from them. The gap is 2 seconds, looking back at Peyton Hamlet and Devin Curl back there in 3rd and 4th as that 05 car tries to get himself back onto the podium and get up into 3rd. This battle's still close, but no one side by side just yet. I think Devin Curl's going to be the next car to try to make a move here.
Let's see if he maybe gives a bumper to the back of the car of Payne Hamlet. We will see if this gets a little bit physical. He goes for the dive hang off into 1 and 2. Misses out on the inside just a teeny tiny bit, but very close on corner exit. I was fully expecting the 05 to clear himself and for us to have another accident hang down that back straightaway, but ends in tears for Hamlet. It ends well for Devin Curl, who now slips his way back up into the podium spots.
Still a tight battle there for this position. These cars are still fighting both for that spot up in 3rd and 4th, and for this spot back here 6th and 7th. Austin Mize is still doing battle with Logan Threlkeld, but instead of P3 it's for P6. These two have dropped off back of this field. We saw them both in the wall and losing some time, and now back up front Jeff Maconi has closed the gap down to Larry Pace. He's looking on the top, trying to see if he can get a run out of the corner and challenge that 00 car for the race lead with 42 to go.
I have a good feeling about this. As much as Larry Pace has been quick ever since the drop of the green flag, he's found himself in rather different conditions than where he finds himself at the moment. Probably better conditions, but nevertheless, it is still different conditions than what he finds himself involved in at the present moment. We got a lot of battles going on up and down the grid. This is one involving Payne Hamlet and Devin Curl. We saw these drivers go side by side earlier on, and they are not side by side at the moment. They are still practically nose to tail, like a Braxton DeWeese and the 5 car tailing these drivers.
Ooh, big loose for Maconi out of the corner. It's going to drop him some time compared to Larry Pace. He's going to need to lock back in, focus, calm down, and get himself back up to the bumper of that 00 car after getting way loose out of 4 down the straightaway. Laps are starting to tick off. There's not much longer left in this race as we cross lap 30, or we cross 39 to go. The lap time's so short. We're running over 3 of them a minute here. The last 39 laps of this race are going to go in a hurry. You need to get on it now if you're going to try to make something happen. Fastest car on the track recently is actually the 2 cars running 3rd and 4th. Devin Curl and Peyton Hamlet have both been closing up to these top 2 drivers. We'll see if that holds or if they burn up their stuff and finish back there 3rd and 4th as well.
These drivers have hit the point where they kind of got to pick up the tempo a little bit, pick up the pace, realize, hey, as much as there may be this many laps left to go, there's only this little time left to try and get the job done. And when it comes to a move around here at Nashville, you kind of have to set it up for a matter of a couple of laps. You can't just immediately go for the dive. You have to figure out where the strengths and weaknesses are of your competitor, size them up a little bit. I remember a video from Slap Shoes describing what Darrell Waltrip used to do back when he was a driver in the NASCAR Cup Series. Whenever he would just stay behind his competitors, he described it as basically a mouse, a cat playing with a mouse before he eats it. I think that strategy may be the same that is played by these drivers here at Nashville tonight, and I think we're seeing it put on full display at the moment. Jeff Maconi running right behind Larry Pace and maybe just doing a little bit of strategizing behind the wheel of that number 86 car.
Well, it doesn't help that when you've got pretty equal cars and pretty equal tires here like Pace and Maconi do, it can be hard to make a pass here. This track is very inside lane heavy. You want to be on the bottom, but the corners are really wide, they're really long. You spend a lot of time turning on this racetrack and comparatively not as much time going down the straightaway. So you've got a very short window to try to send it into these corners if you're going to be able to send it at all. It can be really difficult to pass here with how loose Maconi is getting. Working that wheel all the way to the right out of the corner, that is certainly not going to help him to get that run up to the 00 as the laps continue to tick away. We're going to be at 32 to go this time at the line. The 03 needs to get this move done quickly.
Yeah, I wonder if he will be going for the move now, or if he's going to maybe save it for the final 15 laps of this race, I should say. Certainly in the final 15 minutes. These final few laps are absolutely going to fly by us, but one way that they may not is if we have a caution. These drivers aren't the only ones that are battling, and in the heat of battle, some things can go wrong. We've already seen it go wrong for some racers thus far in this race, and who knows, may have another yellow between now and the checkered flag, and that would certainly throw a wrench in the works.
Maconi's starting to drop back, and I think if he doesn't get the move done pretty soon, he's going to have a threat from behind with Devin Curl continuing to run faster lap times than that Maconi car. He's really picking up the pace. So is Peyton Hamlet back there in the 98. We saw Hamlet kind of burn his stuff up early in the last stint, fall back. Hasn't fallen back so far. He's still running pretty good lap times and still staying in pursuit of the 05. But it's Devin Curl way loose down into the corner. A little bit of a Tokyo drift to keep it straight through 1 and 2. And then in the wall on exit. This is going to be a really bad lap for him with that drift and that wall hit. But on the regular laps, he is really picking up time to Maconi.
Yeah, if you listen very faintly behind the roar of these engines in these ARCA cars, you can hear the Jaws theme start to play. That gap between Maconi and Curl slowly but surely starting to go down. I bring up this analogy a whole lot in terms of broadcasts that I'm doing. In terms of having an effective way to close up to your competitors, you don't need to just completely hack at it with a chainsaw or a machete. You just need to go about it slightly methodically, just get away at it slowly but surely with a nail file, and you'll be good to go come time for the end of this race. Maconi losing touch with pace. Curl and Hamlet still covered by practically nothing. You can see about 3 feet being the separation between those two cars, heading off a few moments ago into 1 and 2. So as much as Devin Curl is certainly reeling in the 86 machine of Jeff Maconi, Curl still has a bit of pressure coming from behind.
Well, what's not going to help that 05 car, Devin Curl, is how loose he seems to be getting out of these corners. He's had a couple moments now where he's almost spun it both through the corner and out of the corner. That 05 is running on the absolute edge of traction, and while he might be gaining some time on Maconi, still he's starting to fall back from Larry Pace. That 00 is really picking up speed. He's become the fastest car in the field over the last 5 or so laps. If Larry Pace can keep running the lap times that he's running, he might just be able to pull all the way away here without much competition.
And that would certainly be a rather good performance, but again, we have a lot of time, a lot of time for things to go wrong, I should say, between now and the end of this race. 23 laps still left on the board. 150 to start off, and this has been a barn burner here at Nashville. Thank you to all of you tuning into this broadcast. You can see the support from Braxton DeWeese, who finds himself in P5 at the moment. Devin Curl, oh, that is not going to be good for the 05 car. I think it just got abducted by a UFO. He has disappeared from our screens. I think he got hit with that, not the chrome horn, not the fiberglass horn or the sheet metal horn. He got hit with the Wi-Fi horn, so I think he's out of it.
Well, I think what happened with Devin Curl is that he posted in the chat pre-race he has a league race that starts at 6:30 Central, and it is currently 6:28 Central. He ran it as long as he could there, but I think he's got to go run a league race.
That's not going to be ideal. That would have been good information for us to kind of be like, hey, as much as he's been fast during the first half, he has to skedaddle out of here if we have like 1 or 2 cautions, and we've had more than that. So, well, Devin Curl, you're at 1 point race leader and de facto winner of the first half of this race. Not going to be the winner in its totality. Finds himself in P8 at the present moment. Marcel Flores, I believe, is still at their pacing laps in the 8 car, and Tyler Massey running in 10th at the present moment. It's not actually running out there, is their only retirement from this race, but down 19 left to go. Larry Pace finds this less than 20 laps left to go in this race mark with a rather sizable cushion between himself and Maconi.
Larry Pace has really opened that gap up, just especially over the last 10 or so laps. He saw it down at half a second, 0.2 of a second. Maconi was right there for so long, but Larry Pace really turned on the jets. He kept those tires clean, and Maconi spent so much tire life and so much time trying to battle with that 00 car for the lead unsuccessfully, that now Larry Pace has everything on cruise control. And if he doesn't get a yellow, if we stay green, if he keeps doing exactly what he has spent the last 60 laps doing, it's looking like Larry Pace is going to walk away your winner. The battle for second is not quite as clear-cut, however, because Peyton Hamlet in that 98 machine still running faster lap times than Jeff Maconi in the 03. He could reel him in here before the end of the race. That gap is down to 0.6 of a second.
We're going to be seeing some of these drivers continue to battle all the way up until the checkered flag. They will not give out until they cross that start-finish line to finish off 150 laps of racing action. I said very early on into this race that we were a 10th of the way through it. We now have only a 10th of this race left to go. Larry Pace still riding comfortable at the front of the field. We thought it was going to be Devin Curl reeling in Jeff Maconi. Instead, it's Payne Hamlet reeling in Maconi. The gap is now about 0.6 of a second between those two racers. A small little slip up from Maconi is going to help out the case of Hamlet a lot. I will say, and we're definitely not just saying this because he is our boss at Maconi Entertainment. The name should probably give it away. Jeff is showing more pace this week than he did last. So slowly but surely getting a grips with this combination, which is certainly going to be good for him running the actual real-life ARCA race here in the not too far off future. And if you want to look up sponsorship opportunities, maybe take a look at the Maconi Entertainment / Jeff's socials to learn how you could put your name or logo on a race car. But now, a tick over 10 laps left to go. Not really going to see a battle at the front unless Larry Pace gets struck by a falling anvil. The fight, though, for P2 and P3 is still very much on.
It is, but Maconi has done a pretty good job to even those gaps out over the last 5 laps or so. It used to be Hamlet was running way quicker every time. Now it's roles reversed. Maconi running quicker than that 98 car. And as we cross under 10 to go, those laps will go quick. It's about 3 minutes of real-time driving. Peyton Hamlet needs to find half a second. Doesn't seem like a lot, but when Maconi has the car dialed in like he seems to have it right now, it can be a real world of difference.
And now with less than 10 laps left to go in this race, we are starting to see these drivers get to the end of their tire life. They're starting to slide around a little bit, seeing some drivers show a bit more pace, or just different pace than they had shown earlier on. I think the pace discrepancy between Jeff Maconi and Payne Hamlet is slowly getting drawn back up to the foreground. I think that may have been Larry Pace, despite the fact he has a massive gap, still scraping the wall a little bit, doing a little bit of weight shedding before then. Don't want to go the way of Ferrari, though, and get disqualified at the end of this race.
No, we're closing down the laps here. It's going to be 6 to go at the line this time for that 00 machine of Larry Pace. Absolutely torching the field. Gaps up to 2.5 seconds now, and he's still running lap times faster than anybody else. It has been on lock for that 00, and no one's really been able to do anything about it. Maconi got close to him, but he couldn't get it done. Devin Curl brought a fight to him, but he ended up around, and he ended up disconnecting from the session. So it has been all Larry Pace for the second half of this race. He certainly has the pace here with 5 more laps to go to close this race out and get the W.
I was just going to say that Larry Pace was yet again the pace setter in this race. So maybe that'll be the nickname for the rest of this series that we are aptly calling Jeff Maconi's boot camp. Just call him Larry the pace setter pace. I'm not sure if that's the best nickname in the world. We'll have to iron at the bumps, but Larry Pace, certainly a very quick driver, won last week and is on track to do it yet again this week. He now has 3 laps left to go to try and seal the deal. 2.7 seconds is now the gap between himself and Jeff Maconi. Don't really look like we're going to have a battle between Maconi and Hamlet. Looks like they're going to remain in P2 and P3 unless we have a major trip up from Jeff Maconi between now and the checkered flag. Now 2 laps left to go for Pace to try and get his second win in a row. We're not going to be awarding points or championships or any trophies or something like that at the end of this small little mini series, but may need to, I don't know, Larry Pace, the award for him if he wins all these races may end up being like 1 million jelly beans or something like that. But for Larry Pace, he's got to be finding this white flag. He's got the lapped car of Marcel Flores a little bit farther up in front. Jeremy Briggs has had some sort of issue befall. I'm not entirely sure what happened to the 48 car. May have to hear a story like that come time for the Goat Locker broadcast later on tonight here on Maconi Entertainment. But for Larry Pace, it is 2 wins for 2 weeks in a row. That checkered flag out in the air, and Larry Pace wins it here at Nashville.
Great race for him. Dominated pretty much the whole way through, and he gets it done. Did everything he needed to. Came from the back as well there in that first stint. Great race for that car.
I wonder if we're going to see a case of deja vu last week here from this. Ignore the minor voice crack that I had a couple of moments ago. Last week here from the small little mini series, we saw Larry Pace go to the infield and do some donuts and end up striking while the tow truck. So let's see if we're going to see that yet again 2 weeks in a row. There go the oh God! I thought he ghosted through them last week. He clearly did not this week. Striking those tow trucks, which have no give here in the sim. They're basically made out of the matter of white dwarf stars. The one mistake that he makes, though, in the entirety of this race, thankfully for him, it came after the checkered flag.
He's going to try to burn it down now, but it's going to be a little bit harder when he doesn't have the front fender on his car. He might just do it in a circle around the tow trucks here. We'll see. Or he'll just pull it up into victory lane.
There we go. That's a good way to go about it. Thankfully, he didn't drive off the edge, so that's good for him. Is he doing some burnouts in victory lane? I think he may be potentially doing that. Or he was just revving the engine in neutral and decided to call it after all of that. But regardless, pretty good race here from as we've been calling it, Maconi's boot camp. We may need to get Jeff or one of the other very talented people here at Maconi Entertainment to make up like a small little logo that we can use for this mini series. You will be able to catch these races, by the way, these ARCA Nashville races every single week here on Wednesdays from now to the end of the month, which I believe will be April 30th, if my memory is serving me correctly. I've never been very good with dates. Ever since I graduated high school about 2 years ago, I don't really know what day it is at any given point in time. Frankly, I don't even know what time it is at any given point in time. But Sky, we actually have a race winner of Larry Pace waiting down there in the interview waiting area, so I think I will pass a buck off to you and interview our race winner for the second week in a row.
Yeah, I'll call him up into the broadcast booth right now. Great race from you, Larry. You got a copy.
Loud and clear.
You dominated that race. You started out back. Tell me how it was trying to drive your way up through the field over the first half of that run.
It wasn't bad. You know, these cars have a lot of grip firing off, so everybody's pretty capable of getting right to the limit. So you have to be patient and just wait for people to be a little too conservative or to make a mistake. So just kind of picked them off one by one. There wasn't a huge field, so I thought I would probably get near the top 3 and ended up getting up to second. And that set up a battle with Devin there, which unfortunately ended with him getting wrecked. I feel bad about that one. Went down into turn 3. Wasn't really even trying to be greedy. Was looking forward to a side-by-side battle. And I was pretty surprised by the contact, but I think I came up a lot more than he came down, so that's my apology there.
All right, tell me about that battle you had with Maconi once the green flag came back out after that, because you two were really going at it for a while.
Yeah, I wanted to, once I had the lead, I just kind of wanted to keep the rear tires on it. I had burned off more right rear the previous run, so to keep forward biting it, just try to take it easy on exits. And yeah, Jeff almost slept me on one of those corners. I think it was 1 and 2. He kind of knew I was taking it easy, and he shipped it through the middle and got a big run on me down the backstretch, and I kind of left the door open, and it got dicey there for a moment, so I had to kind of manage that gap a little more carefully going forward.
All right, well, you won last week. You won this week. Gonna try to make it 3 in a row next week?
Might as well. We'll have to do something to get a few more cars in here and make it a little more interesting next week as well.
All right, well, congrats on the win tonight. Anyone you want to thank or shout out?
I just thank you guys for the broadcast, Jeff, for putting this all together. Thomas Lewandowski, he'll be racing next week probably. He was watching. He just didn't quite make it into this race, but shout out to Tom. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys.
All right, congrats on the win tonight, Larry Pace. And
there he was.
I was going to say, well, I think you've caught back up there with Jeff Maconi, who was our second place finisher tonight.
Yep, I was just going to say I've dragged him into the commentary booth, which feels a little bit rude since he has the keys. Jeff, welcome into the booth here. Well done on the P2. Happy to talk us through that barn burner here at Nashville.
Oh, that was so much fun. I thought last week was a good time. This was even better, and it's really cool getting to race with all these people. James Curl, I haven't raced with him in forever. It was so cool to get a message from him today asking to come out. Larry, I don't get to run with him very often, and to Braxton, one of the best short track drivers on the service. Peyton, who races here in real life and won last year, he's probably going to win a couple this year. Getting to run with him, like a couple of the workers here, everyone. It's so cool getting to run with them. But I'm so annoyed at myself because every time I race with Larry, I somehow find myself right behind him. And then it comes out to I'm right behind him and he's pacing himself and he starts slowing down. I'm like, okay, he's saving his tires. And every freaking time I'm like, okay, he's baiting me into pushing my car so that I burn my stuff off and he'll pull away from me. And every time, I still fall for it. And I'm like, oh, this time I'll pass him. I will pull off the move this time around. So what you're seeing where we're side by side, he knows exactly how hard to push the car to stay in front of me and not burn his tires off. And I fall for it every time. I know it's coming. I know exactly what he's doing. And I fall for it hook, line, and sinker without fail. So it was a great race, though. I'm glad I could finish second and run with all these guys. It was fun.
I'll tell you, if this makes you feel any better, Jeff, I'll share a story of me being rather gullible in my youth, considering we're coming up to Easter in a couple of weeks. My dad used to take a photo of my old go-kart in our garage and Photoshop the Easter Bunny sitting in it, and I always used to be so irritated with the Easter Bunny for years, and that took me too long to realize that was just my dad being a conniving man. Long to realize that was just my dad Photoshop after I went off to bed. So I can also see the little thing that Howie put up on the production feed. Jeffrey Maconi, 03, finishing P2, falls for it every time. The call out.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's not wrong though, and it's all in good fun though, and I love racing with Larry. Everyone out here is awesome for coming out, but it's really, really cool because he's a very quiet and disciplined racer. You never notice him on track until it's too late. And by the time you go, oh, shoot, Larry's right on me, he's already knocking your doors off. And I think what makes him so good is he knows exactly better. And no joke, I've raced with a lot of people. I've raced with Coke champions. He alone knows better than anyone else exactly how hard to push his car to stay in front of you. He takes exactly what he needs out of it and nothing more. And that is why he is as good as he is, because no more, no less, exactly what he needs. It is incredible, genuinely, how disciplined he is as a driver and how good he is at it. So I give major props to him. If I'm going to finish second to anyone, I'm glad it's someone who I can respect as much as him. He is really, really good.
Yeah, I just realized, so we haven't said this, I don't think, during the broadcast yet, but it's technically in the process of Larry winning it. He went from last to first, so well done to him, and well done for you for finishing P2 in this race. Getting some more experience before that ARCA race, and I'll give you the floor to give the other shots out of where people can maybe put their name or company logo on your race car in real life in a couple of weeks.
Well, we've got plenty of real estate for sale. We're running the race. We're running the full race, which is really, really cool. I'm excited about that. In the Club 86, it is a Ford. It's going to be so much fun out there. I'm really looking forward to it. Huge thank you to everyone that's already on board, and in no particular order, you have a Bruzy Racewear. They are awesome. They make all of my sim racing gear. They make all of the Maconi merch that we give away and sell. They make all of my safety gear for racing as well, so my real world fire suit and everything, they make all of that. Big Fish Barbecue, they've been a great partner. I've got some more coming in, actually, right now, I think. It's on my... Yeah, I'm looking out my window, and here is the UPS truck. This is not a bit dropping off my Big Fish Barbecue shipment for the month, so I'm very excited about that. 4K
Beautiful.
Motorsports, they've been a huge supporter of mine, and I'm really excited to see them down at the track. Movember, they are amazing people. If you can afford to donate to them, they are definitely the group to go to. They are absolutely amazing people. And we got a new sponsor today, this afternoon. So Chastity Tucker, she's a realtor here in Tennessee in Clarksville. And this is, again, not a bit, I just finished up buying a house, and I did not have an agent. And it was unbelievable how difficult the whole process was, and the days I spent agonizing over every little detail. And I was lucky that we already knew what house we wanted to buy. If I had to go out, find one that matched everything, I could not do it. If I could go back in time and redo it, I would absolutely use her. She is here in Clarksville. So if you are in the Tennessee area or want to move to the Tennessee area, be sure to check her out. She is amazing and awesome and going to be on board the lower quarter panel. I didn't even have time to put it on the car. That's how recent it is. So huge shout out to her and her team of people. So I'm very excited to have them on board the number 86. And thank you to them for coming on board. And the next time I need to buy or sell a house, I will absolutely be using her, because it was a nightmare process without her, and her and her team are going to be amazing for me in the future, and I'm very thankful to them.
Yeah, and very thankful to have them on board as a sponsor for you as well. I'm not sure if I will be able to take your advice in terms of going to them if I want to buy a house, for the simple sake that A, I'm from the city of Philadelphia, so I'm a couple of hundred miles away, and B, I barely make enough money to afford Greek yogurt, let alone a house. So I still thank you for the information regardless, Jeff, and I will say well done on the P2 result, and excited to see you back out on track next week.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to see everyone out here again, and congrats. I want to say congrats to Peyton as well. I've been watching him race at Nashville for a couple of years now, probably 4 years now. Very, very nice guy, very hard worker. He posts about it all the time on social media, so you're going to hear from him in a minute, but be sure to check out his socials as well. He is very cool, and his car, String Bean, I think he now owns both of the String Bean cars that were made, and they are both very, very successful cars, so pretty cool guy, and I'm glad he came out. So I will pass the mic over to him as well.
Yeah, you just spoiled it. I was going to say that Scott was going to have a chat with Payne in a couple of moments. You spoiled it. So, Jeff, I'm going to kick you out of the commentary booth because of that. Well done, the P2, man. Always good to have a chat with you.
Thank you, guys. You have a good one.
As we take a look inside Jeff Maconi's pores here. Thank you, Howie, for that wonderful camera shot. Sky, I will pass the mic off to you so you can have a chat with Payne.
Yeah, we're going to get Peyton Hamlin up here. Peyton, you got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Congrats on P3 tonight, man. Tell me about that first stint, because you were up there fighting for the lead at the start, and you kind of started to fall off towards the end.
Yeah, I'm so used to running late models at the fairgrounds, and, I know what a late model feels like going around the big track at the fairgrounds, and it's hard for me to get on here and drive an ARCA car, which drives similar to a Sherman tank, and try to get it to turn how I want a late model to turn. So I had to get that out of my head, and once we got through that first stint and I realized I burnt the right front off of it, we come down, took 4 and tried it again. I think we got caught up in a wreck and had to come back down. I was like, well, let me take 4 more. I have 8 laps on the competition, and we did a lot better in the second half, keeping the tires up under it. We just, I was real bad about firing it too deep on entry and burning up the right front, but that top three really worked out for us, and I'm glad we were able to get that far.
Yeah, tell me about the tire wear out here tonight, because I think we saw some cars all through the field getting really loose and struggling on some worn tires. How did that affect you?
Yeah, I mean, similarly to the competition, it just the right sides, right front, and right rear. You're trying to. What was getting me is I'm so used to running the bottom in a late model around here, and I was watching the 05. I think Devin Curl. I was watching him behind him, and he was running like 1980 Richard Petty line around running the third groove up and then dropping it down on exit. And I realized that if you weren't doing that, you're going to cook the tires. So I started running that line, and it helped. But just keeping that big heavy car stable on them hard right side tires was a chore. But if you could manage through it like Larry did, then you would end up in victory lane. So.
All right. Well, anyone you want to thank or shout out tonight?
Just thank you to Jeff and putting this on. He put it up and said, "Come on and run." So I did, and Jeff's a great guy, and just thank y'all for putting the broadcast in and doing all that.
All right. Well, congrats on P3 tonight, Peyton Hamlet. With that out of the way, sorry, Ron, you go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just going to say that was Payne Hamlet, our P3 finisher at the end of all of this. Sky, that was a pretty fun race, I got to say. It was pretty exciting. We had just about everything. We had a little bit of chaos, had some pretty good racing, and some nice strategy thrown into it as well.
Oh, it was a really good one for sure. I think we had a great time tonight.
And at the end of all of it, here are the results. Larry Pace, the Canadian driver, grabbing yet another win. He won last week. He wins here today. Let's see if he wins next week. We have Jeff Maconi finishing in P2. Payne Hamlet rounds out your podium in third. Braxton DeWeese finishes in fourth. Logan Threckold in a P5, fittingly in the number 5 car. We have Austin Mays in sixth. I got to say, Carver credit due to Austin for running one of the strangest lines I've seen around here. He dove it off into the corners every single time, but he still managed to take the checkered flag, albeit last of the drivers to finish on the lead lap. Marcel Flores finished 7 laps down, fittingly in P7. Jeremy Briggs ran into some late race difficulties, finishes in 8th. We have Devin Curl in 9th and Tyler Massey in P10, rounding out the drivers classified. Those two at the tail end did not take the finish. So those are your results at the end of all of it. A pretty darn good race, if I do say so myself. So I think we're in for a good one in 1 week's time. I don't know what it is about these ARCA cars around here. It's some old school fun. It puts on some pretty good racing.
Oh, it does for sure. And there were battles all through the field tonight. You saw guys going at it for the lead, back in third, back in fifth. We saw guys going 2 wide, 3 rows back at points. It was a ton of fun. There was some great racing. We even saw 3 wide for a little bit.
Yeah, that small little bout of 3 wide action dang near gave me a panic attack, but thankfully it did not end in total disaster, heading down into 3 and 4. It was just an absolutely brilliant race. But hey, the racing action doesn't end here at Maconi Entertainment. It doesn't even end tonight. In fact, coming up in about a half an hour's time, we'll be able to bring you the action from the latest round of the Goat Locker Racing Cruising Classics Wednesday Night Next Gen Series. I used to cover that series with Jeremy Briggs, who you will hear on the call. And that is going to be a pretty important race. It's the first round of the playoffs for that series as well. So a lot at stake for those drivers. Hopefully you can stay tuned for all the stuff here at Maconi Entertainment, always here to bring the action to life. But as for this broadcast tonight with the ARCA cars at Nashville, I think that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, Sky Shrek joining me in the commentary booth, and Howie Burrows doing a wonderful job working on the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching this broadcast on Maconi Entertainment tonight. I hope to see you